Good evening, YouTube. You guys are now watching another segment of TheCaliEffect, King of Games. And today, we're going to be doing a full Flames of Destruction spoiler/set review. That's right. For the people that don't want to know what's in the set that you're going to buy, I mean, I guess you could just randomly open packs and not watch this video. But for every other normal person in the world, we will be going over the entire set, talking about its implications on the upcoming meta and how it will impact us, and what cards will be the money cards, what cards won't be the money cards. If you guys are looking for specific points in this video, I tried my best to give you times where we talk about the secret rares, ultra rares, commons rares, all that other stuff. They'll be down below in the comment section, as well as the full list of the spoiler of this set. I'm TheCaliEffect, and if you guys want to see more videos like this, then go ahead and destroy that subscribe button. But more importantly, if your flames are just there, then go ahead and hit that notification bell, because we just too strong. I know I just kind of introduced myself twice. That was weird. But without further ado, I present to you a full Flames of Destruction set review. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so starting off with these secret rares, we're going to start off with Knightmare Corruptor Iblee. I hope I'm saying that card right. It is a level 2 Cyberverse Dark Fiend effect monster, and I think it's the only Nightmare monster that goes inside of your main deck. This card reads, when this card is normal summoned, you can target one link monster in your graveyard, special summon it linked to this card, but change its attack to 0. Also, it has its effects negated. You cannot special summon monsters except link monsters. If this card you control is into your graveyard, you can special summon this card to your opponent's side of the field in defense position. You can only use the effect of Knightmare Corruptor Iblee once per turn. I see this as being, I want to say, a $20 card when the dust settles. It seems like a really important card, but from what I've seen, you only need 1 copy. I could be wrong. If you do need 3 copies, it could be like a $50 card, depending on how important Nightmare cards are. I know the extra deck cards are extremely important, but I haven't seen too many decks run the regular monster and be able to use it effectively. It is ultimately a pretty decent card. Being able to get link monsters out of your graveyard and like special summon it for free link plays, it's just a really good card. So I can see it starting off maybe at $40, $45 and then settling down to $20 after the dust has settled. The next card we're going to talk about is Belle in Huanted Mansion. This is another one of those hand trap like cards. So this card's price could be anywhere. It could be from Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherry's price. I believe it was if I remember correctly, it was maybe like a $20, $25 card, and then it sat to a $7 card. Or it can be anywhere to Ghost Ogre, a card that has debuted at $60, went down a lot to like maybe $20 or $15 for the secret rare, and then shot back up to $50 for the secret first. I think that this card is going to fit more towards the Ghost Ogre portion, because this card doesn't have an effect like Ghost Reaper that's really dependent on an extra deck, and it can be used in certain situations. I feel like when this card first comes out, unlike Ghost Ogre, is that people will kind of sleep on it, and it might be cheaper than what its max potential will be. But ultimately, there will be, trust me, I promise you, there will be a meta where this card is just, oh my god, it's freaking awesome, so you might want to get some. Its effect reads, when a card or effect is activated that includes any of these effects, you can discard this card and negate the activation. When it adds a card from the graveyard to the hand, deck, or extra deck, when you special summon from the graveyard, or when you banish from the graveyard, you can only use the effect of Belle in Huanted Mansion once per turn. Again, another great hand trap, an extremely great asset. We're waiting for that water hand trap, so Mermail just becomes more dangerous. But until then, we'll stick with Belle in Haunted Mansion. Just an extremely good card. I do like that it is a zombie tuner, so it does fit well with zombies. A little bit better than Ash Blossom, because it is an earth target, and you can help make Notoria Beast cards with this card in general. So on to the next card, Topologic, I hope I'm saying it right, Trisbaena. And this card is a Link 3 monster with the arrows pointing similar to Decode Talker, diagonal right, diagonal left, and top. And it requires 2+ effect monsters. Its effect reads, if a monster is special summoned to a zone this card points to, banish that monsters. And as many spell and trap cards in the field as possible. And if you do, inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each card banished by this effect. This card is pretty decent. I actually like it. Being able to wipe boards and summoning a monster on the token. Picture this, picture this. Imagine a card that benefits from being banished. The only thing I can think of are DD monsters, but I'm pretty sure there are plenty of other more viable cards that work with Trisbaena. You summon your DD Survivor, banish it, banish all spell and trap cards, and now you can, you know, go through battle without worrying about your opponent's spell and trap cards. I think it's a really good card. Or even, hey, you just put it down. Look, you can summon this monster and then summon any monster to your side of the field just to banish all spell and trap cards and basically heavy storm your opponent and then, you know, go for game. So I think that it's a very, very good card. I could see it being, I don't know, maybe a $20, $25 card, and then jumping up to 60 for no reason like the other Link monsters. But excuse me, I really think it's a really good card. It's definitely a must-have for your Link arsenal. The next card we're going to be talking about, we're going to start talking about the Knightmare monsters inside of Knightmare Unicorn. And this card seems like a mandatory one of in almost everybody's deck. So I can see this starting off as a $60 card and then possibly settling to like a $40 card. Its effect reads, I regard 2+ monsters with different names. It is a Link 3 with the bottom left and right arrows. When this card is Link Summon, you can discard one card, target one card on the field, shuffle it into the deck. Then if this card is co-linked, when this effect is activated, you can draw one card. You can only use the effect of Knightmare Unicorn once per turn. While a co-linked Knightmare monster is on the field, draw cards equal to the number of monsters with different names instead of one for your normal draw during your draw phase. This card is good. It's a very, very strong card. I feel that this card won't drop lower than $45. I think it'll come out maybe at 55, 65, possibly even 80, just because of that last effect. It's just really good. It's just a great card overall. The next card we're going to talk about is Knightmare Gryphon, another Knightmare monster. This is a Link 4 with 2+ monsters with different names. If this card is Link Summon, you can discard one card, then target one spell or trap card on your graveyard. Set it to your side of the field, but cannot be activated this turn. If this card was co-linked when this effect was activated, you can draw one card. You can only use the effect of Knightmare Gryphon once per turn. Special summon monsters cannot activate their effects unless they are linked. Knightmare Gryphon is a really good lockdown card because you link this card and then basically you say, haha, your opponent can't, like, they can't activate their effects. Any of their special summon monsters literally cannot activate the effects until they deal with this threat. I see this card being a $40 card when everything settles. I think the Knightmare cards are extremely good. Like, they're just kind of busted in a way that they're very generic, and the fact that not necessarily their first effects, but their last effects seem to be the, oh my god, the wow effect that, you know, these cards have on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Metagame. So the next card we're going to talk about is Vampire Sucker. Now this card, I feel, will go down to next to nothing. I think it'll be like a $10 card when everything settles until we get Dark Saviors, which is a couple of weeks away. So I don't see this card just being extremely expensive, except for the reason that people really, oh my god, it's going to have the Dark Magician Girl effect. I like to call it the Dark Magician Girl effect because it's not a great card right now, but since everybody calls it their waifu, it'll go up to like $30 or $40 for no reason. I do see it being a $30, $40 card, but I see it dropping to $10 if the meta stabilizes and nobody sees it as a waifu card. I just don't think that'll happen. But I think it should be in the $10 spot until the Dark Savior set comes out. And then it'll probably steadily rise into a good price. And I see it being maybe a $20, $30 card because this last effect is freaking phenomenal. This is a Link to monster. It requires 2 zombie monsters with the arrows pointing downward. Oh my god, zombie support. It says if you would tribute a monster for a tribute summon, you can tribute a zombie monster your opponent controls as if you controlled it. That effect isn't terrible. It's not the bang for your buck effect that you want, but it's not a terrible effect. You can only use each of the effects of Vampire Sucker once per turn. Oh, maybe I didn't read that part. You can target one monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it to your side of the field in defense position. If you do, it is treated as a zombie monster. And then, if a zombie monster is special summoned from the graveyard, draw one card. This card is really good for the vampire archetype. I actually was completely using it totally wrong on stream because we ignored the fact that you can only use the following effects of Vampire Sucker once per turn. I thought the special summon, if you special summon a zombie monster, you can draw a card, was more than once per turn, which, like, I was like, why are you making non-once per turn draw card effects? This was stupid. I was drawing like 8 cards. But now that it's a little more balanced, I just genuinely don't see vampires. I think they're still a good deck. I just don't see this card being more than $20 when the price settles, period. Unless, like, waifu control just goes out of control, and then there you have it. There's nothing we can do about that. But as competitive-wise, $20 cards is its max value. unless zombies become stupid competitive, which I just don't see them being that competitive. Next is Infinite Impermanence. Used to be called Infinite Transigns. I'm going to try to remember its OCG name, but I'm so used to Infinite Transigns. This is another great card for the set. I see this card dropping at $80 like instantly. You need 3. It's an amazing card, and possibly having that Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit effect not dropping lower than $70 inside of the set. This is easily the card that everybody's going to want. Its effect reads, target one face-up monster your opponent controls. It has its effects negated until the end of the turn. Then if this card is activated while it was set, negate the effects of other spell and trap cards in this card's column. If you control no card, you can activate this card from your hand. So wow, it is a hand trap by definition. It's literally easy a 3-of card in every single deck that I can think of. It is amazing. And the fact that it doesn't really require any life points, it might make Solemn Strike obsolete. Now, granted, Solemn Strike does stop monster summons of certain types, and Solemn Strike does destroy the card, but Infinite Transigns can be used from your hand on your turn. So if your opponent opens up and starts going off for a combo, no, Infinite Impermanence, and stop all that BS. The last secret rare is, man, I forgot what it's called. It is called Super Team Buddy Force, and I'm sorry I couldn't get you guys a better picture. It looks like a bunch of Ojama monsters on the card, and again, I apologize. I had to actually look it up since Yu-Gi-Oh! Wikia doesn't have the exact card. So, what this card does, Super Team Buddy Force, is target one face-up monster on the field, special summon one monster from your hand or graveyard with the same type but different name. If this card in your spell and trap card zone is destroyed by a card effect, you can set one Super Team Buddy Force from your deck to your spell and trap card zone. This is probably the worst secret rare. If you pull this secret rare, you could cry, because literally look at all the other secret rares. I think Vampire Sucker is the worst secret rare if you take out Super Team Buddy Force, and it's not a bad secret rare. It's like, you know, it's gonna be at the very least, if it is waifu material, great trade beat. But then you get Super Team Buddy Force, and I'm gonna feel sorry for whoever pulls 2 Super Team Buddy Force in one set. I just feel sorry for you. But ultimately, I think the secret rares are extremely good. Like, they're awesome. Going on to the ultra rares, we get Altergeist Multifaker, which is a really good card. It says if you activate a trap card except during your damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is special summoned, you can special summon Altergeist monster from your deck in defense position except Altergeist Multifaker. You cannot special summon monsters. You cannot special summon monsters the turn you activate the set effect except our Altergeist monsters. You can only use the effect of Altergeist Multifaker once per turn. This is what's going to make Altergeist the deck. And I'm not talking about like the best deck of the format or whatever. I'm talking about like a really, really powerful deck. I don't think they'll be the best deck, but I think it'll be really powerful because of this card. I've already been seeing 20 card trap builds, so if you guys already have Jinzos, go ahead and pick them up. If you guys need your Royal Decrees, go ahead and pick them up. Trap Stuns, go ahead and pick them up, because this card is going to make, it's literally the paleo of Link format. It's a really good card, and it definitely puts Altergeist. It gives them a win con, and it gives them a reason to play anti-meta like cards. So it's definitely, I say it as a $10 card. I don't see it dropping lower than $10 because it's just so important. I think it's really dependent on if Altergeist actually take the reins inside of the TCG, but I think they will. So I don't think this card will be less than $10. The next card is Elementsaber Makani, and if you guys ever pull these Elementsaber cards, yes, I am looking for them. This is my favorite archetype of the set. I think this archetype is just freaking phenomenal. I've been waiting for Elemental Lord support for a while. So its effect reads, once per turn, you can send one Elementsaber monster from your hand to your graveyard. Add one Elementsaber or Elemental Lord monster from your deck to your hand, except Elementsaber Makani. Once per turn, if this card is in your graveyard, you can declare one tribute. This card in the graveyard becomes that attribute to the end of turn. There's one huge problem about this Elementsaber archetype. It's heavily dependent on the field spell. If you cannot get the field spell, the deck does struggle because you have to use Elemental Saber monsters from your hand. And then, you know, you only have so many cards in your hand. So it does become a bit of a problem to use those cards unless you get your field spell. You get your field spell, you're fine. You can just go play Yu-Gi-Oh! You're going to dominate. You're going to have some really good games. But I think that's what this is really dependent on. And with the people knowing that, cards like Cosmic Cyclone, Twin Twisters, might rise in price if this deck ever becomes competitive. But ultimately, this is a really, really fun deck. I like the deck. Element Sabers are really good, and this is a pretty powerful card. I think it'll be Probably, no, actually, it really depends on how important Elementsabers are. I don't think that they're a tier 1 deck. Hell, they might not even be a tier 2 deck, but if they ever were a tier 2-ish, 1-ish deck, I can see this card being around $5, 5 to $10. I don't see it being anything more than that. The next card we're going to talk about is Elementsaber Molehu. I'm sorry, I really try. Molehu. This card is probably one of the better cards in Elementsabers, maybe because of his 1900 attack, and he's a quick effect. So once per turn, you can send one Elementsaber monster from your hand to the graveyard. Keep in mind, if you have your field spell, you can send them all from the deck to the graveyard. You can target one face-up monster in the field, change it to face-down defense position once per turn. If this card is in your graveyard, you can declare one tribute. This card becomes the attribute until the end of the turn. All of the Elementsaber monsters, except for one of them, which I will show you, have the ability to change their attribute in the graveyard. So if you guys are looking for Dark Arm Dragons, Dark Creators, stuff like that, you might want to pick them up now. Elementsaber has great synergy with it because if I remember correctly, there's only 3 dark monsters out right now, and then they can change their attribute to match whatever you want. So legitimately, this deck is really nutty. I think that this deck's really good. So that's pretty much it for the Elementsaber Ultra Rares, I believe. On to the next card. I think that this card will be, again, no more than 5 if Elementsabers are not really that great, and no more than 10 even if they are pretty decent. To the next card, we have Iron Dragon I'm sorry. Iron Dragon Tamayatin. Its effect reads, cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned by its own effect. If 3 or more cards in the same column, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only use the effect of Iron Dragon Tamayatin once per turn. If this card is special summoned, destroy all other monsters in this card columns. Unused zones in this card's column cannot be used. I think this card's pretty good. It's good and it's bad because I hate column cards. Let's just put it this way. And if the card is solely dependent on columns, then it's like, ugh, you're so terrible because it requires 3 cards in the same column. And think about it. If this card ever became popular, people would just stop putting cards in the same column. Like literally, you have to have a spell, and a monster to summon this card. Like it has to be 3 cards. It's like so trash, but it's so good because it's a free monster to your side of the field. All you have to do is if your opponent has a monster and a spell in the same column, just set your spell and summon Tamayatin. Boom. You can destroy that monster for free. So it's like good and it's bad. Unfortunately, I don't think that this card is really that competitive just because it's so reliant on the column. I see it as being one of those not so great ultra rares, maybe $1 or $2. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong because just right now looking at this, it's just, it is a quick effect. So it's like, but I think once players catch on, they're just not going to do that. Like it just seems like a bad card in that. The next card is Trickstar Belle Madonna. And every time I see this card, I'm like, God, is this a guy or a girl? But nonetheless, Trickstar Belle Madonna is a Link 4 monster with crazy arrows. So 1 up top, 1 to the left, or to the right. My fault. 1 to the bottom, and then 1 to the bottom left. Its effect reads, it requires 2 plus Trickstar monsters. If this card is Link Summon, if this Link Summon card does not point to a monster, it's unaffected by other cards' activated effects. That's decent. If this card does not point to a monster, you can inflict 200 damage to your opponent for each Trickstar monster with a different name in your graveyard. You can only use the effect of Trickstar Belle Madonna once per turn. This is not a great ultra rare. I do see Trickstar players playing just one copy, because if the new Trickstar cards are Link heavy, I see this card being a game ender. Like, okay, you only have such amount of life points. It's late game. Let me Link summon into this card just to finish off the game. I don't see them playing more than 1 copy of this card. So with that being said, I don't see it more than $2 or $3. The next card is Knightmare Goblin. This card is instantly at least a $10 card. This might be the reason why we get Gem Knight, Seraph Knight, or Brilliant Fusion hit in some way, shape, or form, because they want us to play more Links. This card requires 2 monsters with different names. If this card is a Link Summon, you can discard 1 card, apply this effect. And if this card is co-linked, when this card is activated, you can draw 1 card. Once applied during your main phase, you can normal summon a monster to your zone this card points to, in addition to your normal summon or set. You can only gain this effect once per turn. Neither player can target your co-link monsters with card effects. My apologies. And this is why I feel like Brilliant Fusion might get hit, because Brilliant Fusion isn't a Link monster and they want to push Link monsters, so here you go. I think that ABC is going to have a very fun opportunity with this card because, oh my God, it just screams out Link summon with me. And you already know ABC is just like a Link-based deck. I don't know why they just didn't drop ABCs and Links, because this card is literally, it says, okay, we don't have to play Brilliant Fusion anymore. We can just start summoning this card. So it's good for some decks. It's bad for some other decks. Some other decks need to send that light monster. Some other decks need that other stuff. I do see Brilliant Fusion somehow getting hit, but I hope it doesn't. I like Brilliant Fusion as a card. The next card we're going to talk about is World Legacy Succession. And what this card does is target one monster in your graveyard, special summon it to a zone a link monster points to. You can only activate one World Legacy Succession once per turn. It's not a terrible card. I just don't see it as a great card. We already have Monster Reborn, which has less restrictions. Even in World Chalice, it does target one monster, any monster. So that's pretty damn good, but I think it'll be more of a brick than anything. This card's no more than a $5 card, in my opinion. The next card we're going to talk about is Palace of the Elemental Lords. So if you guys get these, hit your boy up. I'm looking for these. Its effect reads, all monsters you control gain 200 attack and defense for every different attribute amongst the monsters in your graveyard. Once per turn, you can add one Elementsaber monster from your deck to your hand, then skip the battle phase of your next turn, even if this card leaves the field. Once per turn, if an Elementsaber monster you control or in your hand will activate its effect by sending cards from the hand to the graveyard, you can send an Elementsaber monster from your deck to the graveyard instead. This is what makes the deck go. This card, again, if Elementsabers are good, $10. If Elementsabers are not great, $5. It's the most important card of the deck. You need to max out 3 of these cards as much as find a way to get into this card as fast as possible. It is that good for the archetype, and I am looking for them. It's just an awesome card. The next card for the Ultra Rares is Elemental Training, and I didn't think that this card was that good until I started playing it. It says your opponent cannot target Temple of the Elemental Lords you control with card effects. Also, it cannot be destroyed by card effects. Once per turn, you contribute one monster, special one Elementsaber from your deck with a different original tribute from that monster's. You can send this face-up card to the graveyard, discard your entire hand, then add Elemental Lord monsters from your graveyard to your hand equal to the number of cards you discarded. This card unbricks your hand, it protects your Temple of the Elemental Lords, and it allows you to cycle through Elemental Lords. This is an instant 3 of, in my opinion, in any Elemental Lord deck. Unfortunately, just like all the other Elemental Lords, it's very dependent on its viability, which I don't think that this deck is that viable. I think it's an awesome deck. I like it a lot, but I'm not sure about its viability. It just seems like too dependent on one card. The last Ultra Rare we're going to talk about is Network Trap Hole. And Network Trap Hole is an addition to the Trap Hole series, which I'm excited to see. Trap Transformation does become a little bit more viable. It says, when you put a special summons a monster from the deck or graveyard, banish that monster face down. It's a pretty good card. I just like it. It's an awesome card. It's an Ultra Rare inside of our set. This is easily a really good card. Unfortunately, it's a trap card. It has to be set face down. I don't see it being that much, but I do see it being really good. It reminds me somewhat of Floodgate Trap Hole. Floodgate Trap Hole was an extraordinarily good card, but never really peaked over $4. So I can see this card doing the exact same thing. That is it for the Ultra Rares. As you guys can see, I am thirsty as hell. So give me a second. I'm going to get something to drink, come back, finish the rest. All right, so on to the super rares, and I'm going to try to bust through some of them really quick because I'm not going to lie, they shouldn't be super rare. One of them being D-Grade Buster. It says, cannot be normal summon or set, must be special summon from your hand by banishing 2 Cyberse monster from your graveyard. You can target one monster your opponent controls whose attack is higher than this card, banish it until the end phase. Now, it's not a terrible effect, but seeing that it's Cyberse support, and Cyberse haven't really shown me anything just yet, I'm not feeling it. I think Cyberse can be a good deck, but unfortunately, they've shown me time after time after time again, even with their cool artwork and amazing cards, just not good. And I don't think there's a single super rare that will eclipse more than $2 or $3 in this set, unfortunately. Trickstar Road, actually, there's probably one. Trickstar Road is a super rare from the set. It says you can discard one Trickstar card, then target one Trickstar Link monster in your graveyard. Special summon it. You can only use Trickstar Road once per turn. Each time a card is banished from your opponent's graveyard, inflict 200 damage to them for each. I'm not 100% sure this will fit into the Trickstar strategy. I do like its first effect, but making Trickstar links isn't the deck's priority, so I don't think that they'll play this card, and I don't think it'll be worth much. So on to the next card. Elementsaber Molehu. Unfortunately, this card isn't that great either. It's not really like you run multiple copies of this card yourself. So it says once per turn, you can send one Elementsaber monster from your hand to the graveyard. We already know that. Target one Elemental Saber or Elemental Lord monster in your graveyard. Add it to your hand. So it's okay. It's not great. It's not bad, but it's just not great. It doesn't really do much for us. It allows us to cycle through Elementables and Iblee more. Perfect, but I have a better card that does something just a little better instead of adding them to your hand. There is Elementsaber Molehu, and what this card does is once per turn, when a spell or trap card is activated, it is a quick effect. You can send one Elementsaber monster from your hand or graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Once per turn, if this card is in your graveyard, blah, 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 declare a type. I like this card. It's pretty good. Unfortunately, it only has 400 attack, so you got to, like, get in the defense. It's just a really strong card. Unfortunately, I don't think I see this super rare being anything more than $2 as well. To the next card, we have Elementsaber Molehu, and this card is really good. It's extremely good. I didn't think it was that good until I started, like, playing it. You can send 2 monsters from your hand to the graveyard, special summon this card from your hand. You can only use the effect of this card's name, Molehu. I hope I'm saying it right. I know I'm not saying it right. Once per turn, a probably appropriate effect of Elemental Saber or Elemental Lord monsters you control, depending on the original tributes of the elemental monsters that will sit to the graveyard to activate its effect. If you send an Earth or Wind, this card cannot be destroyed by battle. If you send a Water or Fire, this card cannot be destroyed by card effects. By card effects. If you send a Light or Dark, your opponent cannot target them with card effects. So summoning 2 monsters, 2 of these to your side of the field, could possibly mean that your monsters can be destroyed by battle, targeted, or by card effects. So, pretty good. And you can send them from your deck. So, that'll always be viable. So, it's a pretty good card. The next card we're talking about is, for Courage, the Elemental Lord. And this card cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand by having exactly 5 light monsters in your graveyard. I thought that this card should have been a secret rare just to follow the trend of the other secret rares, but that's just me. When this card is special summoned, you can destroy all monsters your opponent controls. You can only use this effect of 4 Courage once per turn. If this card face up leaves the field, skip the battle phase of your next turn. So just like any other Elemental Lord, this guy has the same effects. Again, another card I just don't see being that expensive in the long run, even if the deck's competitive because it's a super rare. Next is Goki Master Ogre. And what this card does is it requires 2+ Goki monsters. It is a Link 4 monster. Arrow on the top, 3 arrows on the bottom. All 3 arrows occupied at the bottom. Once per turn, you can return any number of Goki monsters this card points to the hand. Then target that many face-up monsters your opponent controls. They have their effects negated until the end of this turn. This card can attack all your opponent's monsters once each. If your opponent controls a monster that this card can only target their monster with the... Or if your opponent controls a face-up monster, this card can only target their monster with the highest attack, either if tied. I know Goki's getting more support is a great thing. I don't think this is part of the thing that makes them really good. But I do think it's a pretty decent card. It's not a terrible card. Just not a great card. I don't see Goki players playing more than one, even in the most dedicated builds. It just doesn't. It doesn't have a terrible effect. Actually, it has a pretty good effect. It's a quick effect. So I still don't see it being more than $1 or $2. The next card is Knightmare Cerebus. This card could be more than $2 just because it has Nightmare in its name. And what I don't like about Nightmare monsters is that Konami had a really perfect opportunity to make these monsters warrior darks. Get it? Nightmare, night because they're warriors, and mare because they're dark. I mean, come on, no. That's good puns, man. 2 monsters with different names. If the card is linked summon, you can discard 1 card, target 1 special summon monster your opponent controls in your opponent's main monster zone. Destroy it. Then, if this card was code-linked, draw 1 card. You can only use the effect of Knightmare Cerebus once per turn. Your code-linked monsters cannot be destroyed by card effects. This card is really good. It's a very, very generic instant removal. And all you have to do is discard a card. I think it's a very fair and balanced card, but it's also a very powerful card. So, it's pretty good. The next card is going to be Knightmare Phoenix. It requires 2 monsters with different names. It's a link 2 as well. If this card is link summon, you can discard 1 card, target 1 spell and trap card your opponent controls and destroy it. If it's co-linked, you can draw a card. You can only use the effect of Knightmare Phoenix once per turn. Your co-linked monsters cannot be destroyed by battle. So, Knightmare Phoenix and Knightmare Cerebus are a pretty good tandem, especially if you can get them co-linked to each other. So that'll be pretty interesting to see. They're pretty good cards. That's all I can say. Very good spot removal. And if they're linked, you basically get it for free. So to the next card, I can see these cards being $5 each. To the next card, we're talking about another $1 card. A card that shouldn't got a rarity bump, even though I do like it. It requires 2 wind-up monsters. If this card... Whoa, hold on. Time out. You're telling me, Konami, you actually did... You made a theme-specific card. Like, you know, I don't know. They're like the Archfiend monster. And actually made it require its theme? I mean, Metal Foes should have required Metal Foes. I mean, you know, Heavy Metal Foes, Electromite, but who cares? If this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can target one wind up XC monster you control, attach this card as XC material. You can only use the following effects of wind up, maintenance, Zen Makon once per turn. If this card is link summon, you can add one wind up card from your deck to your hand. I fucking love this card. You can banish this face up wind up monster you control. Banish one face up wind up monster you control. Face down, special summon one monster with the same name from your deck. This card's really good for wind-ups. It's like perfect for wind-ups. And I think I'm gonna make a video on what cards should come off the forbidden list, and wind-ups just might be in it. This card is freaking perfect for wind-ups. Everything that you needed. Well, not everything, but it's what they needed. Link Bound is the next super rare card. Target one link monster you control or in your graveyard, return it to the extra deck. Okay. And if you do, draw cards equal to its link rating. Okay. Then place cards from the hands at the bottom of your deck in any equals the number of monsters you drew with this effect. You can only activate one link bound per turn. It's not a terrible card. It's just I don't see players playing this card because, man, you have me draw cards equal to its link rating, return Sarjuya. Oh my god! But I can see it being pretty gimmicky in a link-based deck like Cyburst or World Chalice. It's not a terrible card. Actually, it's pretty good in World Chalice because you can draw your Mystical Shine Balls and then put them back to your bottom of the deck. Or if you break your Mystical Shine Balls, you can put them back to your bottom of your deck. You don't have to, like, draw Sarjuya. So it's not, I don't see it being that bad. Red Reboot is a card that I really think is going to be, like, easily a $5 card. When your opponent activates a trap card, negate the activation. If you do, set that card face down. Then your opponent can set one trap card directly from their deck. For the rest of the turn after this card resolves, your opponent cannot activate trap cards. That is the most amazing effect right there. You can activate this card by paying half your life. You can activate this card from your hand by paying half your life points. The reason why this card is so good, like let's say you're going for an OTK of some sort and your opponent uses their card. Nope. And now they can't use any other trap cards for the rest of the turn. On top of that, it's a really good card for OTK-centric decks. Unfortunately, it's good for OTK-centric decks. Trap cards become a little more diluted. They become a little less better. But I think that it's a really good card. Ultimately, in the long run, if you're using this just to like try to set up a port or something, I hope you can destroy those spell and trap cards on your opponent's field. Because if you negate something like their Solemn Judgment, or I hope you negate their Solemn Judgment because that's like free. Like if you negate their Solemn Strike or something like that, they get to set another card to their side of the field. So it's kind of a, yeah, yeah. The next card will be World Legacy Sorrow. And it's another counter trap card. It says, when your opponent activates a spell or trap or monster effect while you control a co-linked monster, negate the activation. If you do, destroy that card. You can only activate one World Legacy Sorrow once per turn. Really good card for decks like World Chalice. For Mech Knight, it's pretty good for that. For Cyburst, I think it's basically your Infernity Barrier. Unfortunately, it is searchable, I think. I think it is searchable, so it's a pretty good card. The next card, the last super rare, is Over the Rainbow. I think I'm reading Rainbow every time I see this card. And it says, if a monster whose original name is Rainbow Dragon or Rainbow Dark Dragon activated its effect this turn, while you control it, special summon any number of Crystal Beast monsters with different names from your deck. This does not help the Crystal Beast cause, unfortunately. Now that we are done with super rares, I'm not even going to go over the rares. I'm going to go over some really hidden gems inside of the set. And then we're going to wrap up this video. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I completely forgot. I'm going to go over the imports before I go over the, interesting cards. And, the imports are kind of underwhelming, mainly because a lot of people are waiting for Needle Fiber. A lot of people want other cards other than what we got. But ultimately, I don't think that they're terrible. The first card being Shadow Construct, so of course I don't think it's terrible. It requires 2 flip effect monsters, and it says during your main phase, you can fusion summon one Shadow Fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand as fusion materials. If this card is in your graveyard, you can send... Wait, hold on. Does it have to... Hand or field, my apologies. If this card is in your graveyard, you can send one Shadow card from your hand or face up from your field to the graveyard. And if you do, special summon this card. You can only use each effect of Shadow Construct once per turn. At first, when I first saw this card, I was like, this card is utter trash. And the reason why I said it was utter trash is because once you link summon into it, its arrows are pointing left and right. So it's like, how the fuck do I get this out of the monster zone? But then you realize you can fusion summon with it. And you're like, oh my god, just fusion summon with it. Just get it out of the extra monster zone, put your fusion monster in your main monster zone, and then send or discard the other Shadow monster, or send the other Shadow monster from your hand to the graveyard or field, which will gain its effect because, card effects, and then summon it to your side of the field. Now you have a link arrow pointing left and right. So it's not bad. It's pretty damn good for Shadows. Hopefully we get Construct back to complement this card. and to be able to use its full ability. The next card is Insector Pico Felina. And I hope you guys really, seriously, post down below in the comment section if you guys want to see a Battle of the Gods Windups versus Insectors one more time. We got to get that rematch because both of the new League monsters are out. This one requires 2 insect monsters, so they didn't keep the theme. If this card is link summon, you can discard 1 card, then target 1 other insect monster you control. Equip 1 insect monster from your deck as an equip card. The equip monster gains 500 attack and defense. You can target 3 insect monsters in your graveyard, shuffle them into the deck, then draw 1 card. Oh my god. This is, oh my god. You can discard 1 card, target 1 other insect monster you control. Equip 1 oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. This card is just, card's good. I mean, both of them make both of them very good decks viable. Maybe if the Forbidden List goes a certain way, but I just, it's good. Let's just say it's good. Next, we have Madoshe Fresh Sistart, and unfortunately, this deck was good, but it was never good enough. So hopefully the Link monster really helps. It requires 2 Madoshe monsters. While this card points to a Madoshe monster, Madoshe spell and trap cards you control cannot be destroyed by card effects. Okay. Also, neither player can target them with card effects. Okay. If this card on the field will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can shuffle 1 Madoshe monster from your graveyard to the deck instead. It's not bad. I was just wanting more. I don't think that this makes Madoshe's competitive. I think it doesn't really do anything. It helps the spells and traps. It's not terrible. Maybe you can play your more spells and traps without being hindered because of this card. But I don't really think that it's an awesome card, like the other cards that we have. The next cards that we're going to get is Crystal Beast support, and we get Crystal Conclave. Once per turn, if a face-up Crystal Beast monster you control is destroyed by battle card effect, you can special summon Crystal Beast monster from your deck. You can send this card from the face-up on the field to the graveyard, then target 1 Crystal Beast card you control and 1 other card on the field, return them to the hand. You cannot activate these effects in the same chain. No, it's not bad. It's not bad. Unfortunately, Crystal Beasts don't have enough good monsters. That's the terrible part. They have Pegasus and Carbuncle. Those are the only genuinely good ones. Next is Crystal Master. Hold on, wait up, hold up, stop. And this is the card that we've been waiting for years. The Pendulum Effect says your opponent cannot target Crystal Beast cards you control or ultimate crystal monsters in your monster zone with card effects. Its monster effect says you contribute this card, add 1 Crystal Beast monster, ultimate crystal, or crystal spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. Okay. Crystal Beast deck profile, anybody? Give this video a like. Post down below in the comment section. Crystal Keeper says, each time a Crystal Beast card or ultimate crystal monster you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect, it is not destroyed. Then his monster effect says, during damage calculation, if your Crystal Beast monster battles an opponent's monster, you contribute this card from your hand or field. Your battling monster's attack and defense become double its original attack and defense. Okay, so, oh wow, they're not Crystal Beast monsters. Fuck, if they were Crystal Beast monsters, that sucks. Oh well, they're still pretty good cards. They allow you to pendulum summon Crystal Beast, so a little too late, but not too bad, I guess. Now to the Vendrits. Oh boy. You can ritual summon this card with any Vendrit spell card. This card's name becomes Vendrit Slayer while on the field. Whoa, that card looks awesome, by the way. While this card is ritual summoned is on the field, your opponent cannot target cards you control with card effects, except this card. Okay. If this ritual summon card is destroyed by battle, or if it's destroyed by an opponent's card effect, excuse me. While it's in the owner's main monster zone, you can add 1 Vendrit monster from your deck to your hand. This card isn't bad. It's not great. It seems like a great one-of because of its high level. Your opponent cannot. No, it doesn't seem that bad. I really have to go back into the Vendrit archetype because they've gotten such new, cards and revisit them because this card looks pretty damn dope. Next is Vendrit Anima. And you can banish this card from your graveyard. Target 1 of your banished Vendrit monsters except Whoa. You cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except zombie monsters. I love this card already. A Vendrit monster, ritual summon, use blah, 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 gains this effect. Banish any monster. I like it. It's a level 1. Fuck. Well, that doesn't help with Vendrit summoning, but it's really good. This card, I think this card's a 3 of. Revendrit Evolution. If I remember this card, it's godly. You can use this card to ritual summon any Vendrit ritual monster from your hand or graveyard. You can also tribute monsters from your hand or field, or send 1 Vendrit monster from your deck to the graveyard whose total levels equal the ritual monster used for the ritual summon. The ritual monster is destroyed during the end phase of the next turn. Now, the best thing about it is that it allows you to send one Vendread monster from your deck. Unfortunately, it says send one Vendread monster from the deck. So you either need the rest of them in your hand or field. But that sending from the deck is a really nice thing. And then, you know, you can fuel other plays with it. I think it's a pretty decent card. Vendread Nightmares. Once per turn, you contribute one or more Vendread monsters from your hand or field. Target one monster you control. Increases level by the number of monsters contributed to the end of the turn. When you're attacking Vendread monster, blah, 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 destroys opponent's by battle. You can have that monster gain 1,000 attack. This card's trash. Vendread Daybreak, it's already not great seeing that it's a trap card, but let's see what it does. If your opponent controls more cards than you do, choose one ritual summon Vendread monster you control and destroy all cards on the field except the chosen monster. It cannot attack directly while it remains face up on the field. You can activate one Vendread Daybreak once per turn. Not feeling it. Next, we get FA support. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand by having a level 7 or higher FA monster on the field, but no FA dragster in your monster zone. Gains attack equal to its level times 300. Each time an FA spell or trap card is activated, increases level by 1. You can target one card on the field, reduce this level by 3, and if you do, destroy that target. This card's really good. FA Dawn Dragster. Gains attack equal to its level times 300. If it attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing damage. Each time an FA spell or trap card is activated, you can increase this card's level by 1. When your opponent activates a spell or trap card or effect, you can reduce this card's level by 2, and if you do, negate the activation and destroy it. Okay. FA Winners. If you control a FA monster, this card cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. I like this card. When your FA monsters whose level is 5 or higher than its original level battles an opponent's at least 5 or higher than its original level. Fuck. Battles an opponent's monster, inflict damage to them, banish one card from your hand, field, or graveyard. Huh? That's not good. Banish one card from your hand, field, or graveyard. Okay, maybe I'm not reading it right. You can only activate the effect of FA Winners once per turn. If three of your FA field spells with different names are currently banished and were all banished by FA Winners, you win the duel. Okay, no, I was reading it right. You want to banish 3... Now, FA Dead Heat. When an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, you can spell someone FA monster from your deck. You can only use the effect of FA Dead Heat once per turn. Once per turn, if your FA monster battles an opponent's monster before damage calculation, you can have both players roll a 6-sided die. And if your result is higher, increase the level of your battling monster by 4 until the end of the turn. Even if this card leaves the field, if your result is lower, destroy your battling monster. If it's a tie, both players roll again. I wouldn't play it just because of that effect. I wouldn't use this effect. That's too much of a risk unless I'm going to lose anyways. That's crazy. FA Overheat. If only your opponent controls a monster, special one FA monster from your hand. If you do, increase this level by 3 until the end of the turn. If this card is in your graveyard and you control no cards in your field zone, you can banish this card. Activate one FA field spell directly from your hand or graveyard. You can only use the effect of FA Overheat once per turn. I think it's pretty decent. I think this one's decent. The only reason why I'm skeptical about them is because they're traps, and traps just aren't that good. But now that we're done with the exclusives, I'm going to show you guys some really awesome cards from the set. Okay, so to wrap this up, there are a couple of cards that I want to talk about. Not too many. This set seems to be really top-heavy, meaning that the secret rares, the ultra rares are really the important cards, and everything else, there's a couple here and there, but ultimately there aren't a lot of cards. I'm like, oh my god, sought after commons like some other sets we've had before, but this card I thought would have been at least a super rare. And that's why I was looking at these cards like, why are you super rare? This card should have been super rare. One of them is Sekka's Light. Translated from Sekka no Hakari, and it says if you have no spell and trap cards in your graveyard, draw 2 cards. Also, for the rest of the duel after this card resolves, you cannot activate spell or trap cards except Sekka's Light. You can banish this card from your graveyard, reveal one monster from your hand, shuffle it into the deck, and then draw 1 card. You can only use the effect of Sekka's Light once per turn. This is basically Monster Mash support, Mermail support, any deck that runs a trillion monsters, super heavy 6 Samurai support. I really thought this was an awesome card to highlight, and I'm looking to do a deck profile on this soon enough. Another card that we're going to talk about is Great Fly. At least this should have gotten a super rare. It is basically the Mrs. Radiant, the Mistar Boy for wind monsters. It requires 2 wind monsters. Arrows point down, does the exact same thing, increases the attack of all wind monsters by 500, decreases the attack of all earth monsters by 400. If it's destroyed by battle or card effect, add 1 wind monster from your graveyard to your hand. Next, a card I want to talk about is Space Insulator. I thought that this card was pretty interesting. He requires just 2 monsters, but his drawback is monsters this card points to lose 800 attack and defense. Now, keep in mind he has an arrow pointing up as well as an arrow pointing down, so he could weaken your opponent's monsters as well as allow you to link summon, but your monster will be weakened as well. When a Cyber's Link monster is link summoned to your side of the field while this card is in your graveyard, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card to a zone that monster points to, but it cannot be used for a material for a link summon. Also, banish it when it leaves the field. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any use for that second effect right now off the top of my head, but I know there is a use for it. And then there's plenty of great Link monsters like Link Spider, Link Karibo, Decode Talker that are all Cybers that will get this monster for free. Perhaps the structure deck Layer of Darkness could use it, seeing that it's a dark monster and it's free to the side of the field. The next card we're going to be talking about is Goki Out Octo Stretch. And this card's really good, mainly because it's a level 1 warrior. It makes Gokis really good if you ask me. During damage calculation, when an opponent monster's attacks, you can discard this card. Any battle damage you take from this battle is halved. When your opponent activates a card or effect that would inflict damage to you, including during the damage step, you can discard this card. Any damage you take from that effect is halved. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 Goki card from your deck, except for Goki Octo Stretch. The reason why it's so good is because it's a level 1 warrior, so Isolde becomes really, really important to the strategy because this is a free monster to your side of the field. The next is Trickstar Mandrake, which when I first saw it, I was like, you can't be a trap. This is kind of a good-looking card. I'm like, if you're a trap, I'll die. I just don't know what to say because it's probably the best-looking Trickstar. But what it does is if this card is sent from the hand to the graveyard, you can special summon this card in defense position, but banish it when it leaves the field. If this card is sent to the graveyard as a material for a link summon of a Trickstar Link monster, you can target what monster your opponent's Link monster points to destroy. You can only use the effect of Trickstar Mandrake once per turn. So I'm going to get this out of the way. This card is thick, and it has a good effect. I just hope, please don't be a trap. If you're a trap, I'm just going to go cry in the corner because I just called a guy thick. But the next card that we're going to be talking about, the last card we're going to be talking about for Trickstars, is Trickstar Nightshade. And what this card does is if this card is sent to the graveyard for a link summon of a Link or Trickstar Link monster, you can special summon this card from your hand but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use the effect of Trickstar Nightshade once per turn. Both Mandrake and Nightshade provide another element to the Trickstar strategy, which is making links. We already have Belle, which is a free special summon upon add. We have Nightshade, which summons itself when it's used as a link material. And then we have Mandrake, which if it's sent from the hands of the graveyard, she special summons herself. So I can expect to see Trickstar start to link up a little more. Another card is going to be called, I really wanted to highlight this card because it's going to make me build a Monarch deck. It's called Restoration of the Monarchs, and I'm telling you guys, I had a saucy-ass Monarch build on stream. Give this video a like if you guys want to see that saucy-ass Monarch build, and post down below in the description. I'll even give you a hint. It uses Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon. But again, I'm not going to try to spoil it for you guys. It's a saucy deck. Restoration of the Monarch says activate this card by targeting 1 monster in your graveyard with 2,400 attack and 1,000 defense, or 2,800 attack and 1,000 defense. Special summon it in defense position, but it has effects negated. Also equip it with this card. If this card leaves the field, destroy the equipped monster. If the equipped monster can be treated as 2 tributes for a tribute summon, you can activate Second Coming of the Monarchs once per turn. This card is sauce. It's a really good card. It's an awesome card. It's just that good. It's another Monarch spell card. It brings out Monarchs. It brings out basically anything. I really wish that its effect wasn't negated because it brings out Karaz, and Karaz can destroy cards. Karaz can target itself and the equipped spell card, and that would be a free +2. That would have been freaking awesome. Next, just giving you the confirmation, Called by the Grave is a common inside of the set. And then Monster Reborn, and target 3 monsters in the graveyard. Your opponent chooses one of them. Special summon it. If you do, banish the rest. You can only activate 1 Monster Reborn once per turn. I really don't have anything to say about this card. It's not good. It's just not good. Unless you can consistently get 3 monsters with the same name in the graveyard. And then all 3 of them, like 2 of them, or all 3 of them have the effect of when they're special summoned, you get an effect. And when they're banished, you get an effect. There's no reason to play this card. But thank you guys so much. If I were to give this set a rating, it would definitely be a 7 out of 10. It's very top heavy, whereas you get your ultra rares, your super rares, and your all that. They have some really good effects, but then after that, the set really starts to dwindle down into some very okay cards. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like. Tell me down below which deck profile should I start working on for when this set comes out. Please like, comment, subscribe, but most of all, enjoy. I hope you guys are having a great day like I am.